All right, everybody, welcome to the Middle Ground Mike. I got a great guest today here. His name's Alan. You know, America, we're a powerful, wealthy country, obviously, probably one of the most technological, if not the most technologically advanced. Yeah, we're deeply fractured and anxious over some of the issues that we shouldn't be because they all affect us the same way. My guest, he's got a great book out. I'm going to let him introduce it and tell where you can find it. Alan, thanks for joining us today. Tell everybody about your book.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, my name is Alan, aka the Paraclete, and the Paraclete is a name I gave myself because I want to be a ambassador or an advocate for what I think is a divine plan for America, and also like a helper for humanity to reach a higher level of consciousness and understanding about their society, themselves, the world, and their place in the universe. So I talk a lot of about these things in the book and how to help people understand their place in this world, in the universe, and why they're here, and to realize that we're more than just biological beings existing here on earth. We are spiritual as well, and we need to dig deep inside of ourselves to understand not the meaning of life, to have a real spiritual experience in life. It's a way also for us to discover ourselves and the universe. And it's pretty much the way it's always been. The ideas of humanity and the evolution of humanity has always come from within us. So everything you see in this world, all the streets and the buildings and the cars, everything evolved from within ourselves. So when that world inside of us is not working properly, we see what we see today, which is a lot of chaos, confusion, violence, greed, anger, and just a decomposition of the whole human structure and society. And America is experiencing that decomposition on a very high level. And we need to realize it and understand where that problem is coming from so we can address it and reform, our society in such a way that it's going to be more geared towards, creating a better place for all of humanity, really, because we are essential. The United States of America is an essential ingredient in helping humanity evolve to the next level. I have, we were sharing some ideas before the show on some of the programs and that we can implement in regards to our economic, political, and social structures that can get us to a better future.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, capitalism can definitely take us to a better future. We just got to rethink how we apply it.
well, capitalism is pretty much has reached the peak of its existence. And what we see with capitalism, what has it created besides all the wealth that it's created a huge wealth gap that is really dividing society. And what we need to do with this capitalism is to inject it with the human aspect, with the virtues of humanity, with the virtues of compassion and generosity and love for one another, brotherly love and wisdom, and realize that our economy can be used to better the human social structure. And we need to ask and demand from big corporations that they put more of their funds into the community, because one of the ways that we restructure this economy is to move away from these corporations focusing on profits only and helping them realize that their social duties are even more important, because we are the one who support them. And if you have in the food industry these companies that are poisoning us, you know, we gotta let them know, hey, that's not your role. Your role is not to make a profit and to give us poison. Your role is to keep us healthy
Yes.
and feed us the proper nutrition so that we can live a better and healthier life. That's your role in society. And once I understand that, maybe we can transform the industry. And that goes for pretty much all the other industries that we have to,
Well,
where instead of them focusing on this, you know, profits, they focus more on the right things to do, for the society.
yeah, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, and I think it's honestly the first video I've ever had on YouTube where they go, it was about the Lunchables one, that I just published the episode yesterday. Now, most of my long form, they get pretty decent downloads within 24 hours. Not massive on YouTube, but I guess I'm right. But I don't have one episode on the podcast on YouTube, and only two downloads on the video version. But on Rumble and and on off of like Spotify and Apple, they've got downloads. And so I tried to promote the video because I'm like, okay, maybe it's just not clicking with people, right? So I was like, I'll spend $10 and just try to, you spend $5 or $10 usually kind of gets the juices flowing and gets people to check it out. Well, YouTube gave me, or well, slash Google Ads said that even though it's factual, it can be misleading. That there's lead in it, but it can be built up over time. That's misleading that it could hurt kids. What? How is that misleading? It's literally the facts. I'm not lying about it. I didn't pull up any random facts for some kooky guy in some corner basement somewhere. No, I pulled the facts right out of the lawsuit itself. So it's not like I just made this up, and they literally, when I was looking at my other content earlier, and I'm like, even some of my episodes that I've had that where I had one that I did with a guy he's a Canadian podcaster. He's got a pretty big following, like 250,000 people. Nice guy. His name's Nico Lagan. And that episode, only 5 downloads. It just really, like on YouTube, I should say. My podcast, my episodes get a lot more attention, but there's just certain things. So like the episode on that was, it's modern masculinity and purpose for men, for young men. Right? And that goes back to like, so if there's certain things that it seems like society doesn't like with like healthcare, right? Well, we're going to push this to the side because it doesn't fit the narrative. And then when you look at the corporate governance policies like of our country, it's the same way. If it doesn't fit the narrative to benefit the shareholders, we push it aside. In case in point, the Campbell's episode I had done, I didn't mention this part earlier. I thought I might have, but the shareholders of Campbell's had actually sued them about their ingredients a couple of years ago. So you're telling me that your own, not all of them, but a group of them, so your own shareholders sued you and you still did nothing about it. And then Campbell's Soup's response to it was, well, our chicken isn't bioengineered and it doesn't come from a 3D printer. That's all they said about all of it. They didn't talk about the fact that the chicken feed that they feed the chickens in the company that they use has pesticides in it. And that chicken feed is designed to make the chickens so big that they've got videos of these chickens under their own weight, their bones are breaking.
Yeah, I've seen videos of that.
Well, the company that Campbell's uses is called Amick Farms. And so I started digging into Amick Farms. I think that's how you pronounce it. And they've got videos of Amick Farms of some of the workers punching the chickens while they're still alive. And I'm like, oh my God. And here's the thing. It'd be different if they found out about it and then they had to do something about it. Okay, fair game, you didn't know, right? But you knew about it and you still continue to use this company with no repercussion from you, the person who buys their product.
Yeah, what I liked from your show, and the name of your show is talking about unity and walking through the middle ground. And we need to stop supporting companies that do these type of things. And that's the only way that we can make a difference, because you and me by ourselves, we can't do anything. But once we unite as a nation and we say, well, we take a company, and let's say we have people that form corporation, nonprofit corporation that's going to take in, Tyson Industries, and they're going to investigate them and show us all the facts that they have on Tyson. Then we can decide whether we're going to keep buying those products or from them or not. And, that's how we make them more socially responsible, and we change the nation. That's the only power that we have, the power of money, our wallets, where we spend our money. And we can transform the whole country by using that power and demanding from corporations for them to move away from just making profit and be more socially conscious. And once they do that, it's going to benefit everybody. It's going to benefit the society. It's going to benefit them because we know they're going to be socially responsible, and we're going to support them even more. Like we were talking about before, if I see a company that's doing the right thing, like, Dell, we talked about Dell, how they, donated $6.5 billion to this new government program that Trump put together for giving kids, an investment account. Well, they didn't have to do that, but they did. And guess what? My next computer is going to be a Dell
Same here. I
because
usually build my own.
I'm going to support them. I like what they did, and that's what, that's how I'm going to support them. I'm going to say, good job. Here, I'm going to buy my next computer from you, and my kids' computers are going to be Dell as well. So it's profitable for everybody in the long run. These social programs are going to be able to help us solve some of the most pressing issues in the United States. The mental health, drug problems, education. The wealth gap, and it's gonna channel America into a better future where we're gonna feel really, really proud of ourselves, which we need because we are demoralized. The government, these institutions, celebrities, sports figures that are just spending money and showing all these luxury items to the public, and we don't respect that anymore. We don't want you to show us what you bought with the money that we gave you. We want you to put back into your community, and that's what we want to see, and that's how we're going to support you more, and we're going to love you even more, and we're going to cheer for you even more. That's how we transform America. When we unite instead of fighting with each other and envying the rich and saying, well, these wealthy individuals, they don't care about nothing and they only care about themselves. No, they're human beings just like you and I. And if we touch their heart, they're going to listen to us and they're going to say, yeah, you're right. And I'm not going to take any of this money with me when I die. Let's put it back into the community. And you're still going to have enough money to buy that yacht or that Rolls Royce and some of the luxury items that you have. But in a more conscious way where you say, well, instead of buying another, you know, Lamborghini, I'm going to take that $1 million and I'm going to put it into the community.
Yeah, no, I mean,
And you're still going to have two Lamborghinis instead of three. You're going to have two. Hey, it's okay, and that's how we transform the whole of society.
yeah, they what was I going to say? So we were talking a little bit earlier about healthcare. So I had done well, not an episode necessarily dedicated on healthcare. It was kind of something that I wrapped up into one, but it was more about the government shutdown and that they were using the healthcare subsidies as this pawn, right? And I told everybody, I said, please stop buying into it. I said, it has zero to do with the subsidies. And people are like, oh, it's everything. And then I said, no, they're using it for the election. What do you mean? I'm like, the Republicans are trying to go, hey, look, they're holding your, and then they're both doing the same thing. I said, because don't you find it weird? Less than a week after the election in November, they were able to figure out something to get the government open. It was a pawn. And here's my reason for it. We, it's sad that we have to have subsidies just to even afford the insurance. And then on top of it, the subsidized insurance that they're giving people, these private plans, will have like a $7,000 deductible. Well, maybe my math is not that great, but if you don't have enough money to be able to afford an expensive health insurance plan, how are you going to have enough money to afford that deductible? So all it is, and then to piggyback on that, I had done an episode with a guy. I don't know what city, but he actually lives down in your state in Florida. His name's Larry. He runs a company he founded a company called Fresh Mouth Club, and they don't. They do everything fluoride free and everything. We're only one of few countries in the world that even use fluoride in our products. And
I think
fluoride,
they banned fluoride here in Florida. I'm not sure. We had
yeah,
a
like,
vote on it not too long ago
yeah, they.
in the water.
It's controversial because the evidence is kind of very balanced. In the
Right.
pet, there's a lot of evidence that goes both ways. To be fair, I mean, it goes both ways. So, but when you look at like Europe has fluoride, but it's very limited. And then when you look at like when we put fluoride, it's like all IQ things. But so before he founded this company, he was a health insurance broker, and Obamacare squeezed him out. And so he told me, he goes, once we had Obamacare in place, it actually made people's health insurance worse and it's covered less. He said, people think that, oh, well, now it has to cover birth control no matter what. He used it as an example, right? I mean, pretty much even before Obamacare, most insurances covered it. He's like, but now, even if you're a single man, your employer has to cover you for birth control. What sense does that make? He goes, all it does is drive up the cost. He said it drives it up. And he said, all Obamacare did was shift it from your paycheck to your taxes. The cost is still there. And then Obamacare limited the players. So there's no actual competition. And he even kind of opened my eyes a little bit even more to it. He goes, look at industries in America where there's a lot of open competition, right? Like he said, fast food, right? To be one of them, you know, always competing against prices. Oh, we're going to come up with a better product. Health concerns started coming out. Hey, we're using antibiotic free chicken now. Hey, we're using, we don't have any more fillers in this product now. We're getting rid of fake sugars. Like, because the consumers demanded it, these companies adjusted and they made better prices.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
prices,
better prices. Yeah.
right.
I think, all food should be organic. We shouldn't have to worry about looking at these labels all the time and getting so confused about everything. Why? If these food distributors and manufacturers realize that their responsibility is to, feed us the proper nutrition and the proper, things that to make us live a healthier and better life, if they realize that's their job in society, we don't have to worry about what's in our food. And it can be very confusing. And looking at all these labels and shopping around. And our point is, if feeding the people is your responsibility, do it right and make us happy. And we're going to buy your products even more. But when you start, maximizing profits the wrong way, where you're gonna poison your consumers, man. You're not thinking right. It's just clear common sense and rational logic. You don't hurt the people that are supporting you. You try
Yeah.
to make them feel better, and that's one way that we can change the society. Like we said before, from I was reading preparing for your show, and I was reading something from Albert Einstein that got to me, and he said, that no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. So we're trying to solve the same old problems the same old way, and it's not going to happen. And he even said at one point, what is insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, we keep doing the same things over. We've been doing it for generations and it hasn't worked. So we need to figure out a different way of creating a better society. And we need to, like people say nowadays, to think outside the box. And with these insurance companies, I don't see why we need health insurance companies. I understand about car insurance or property insurance, but health insurance? Why are we giving our money to a middleman so they can profit? And then when I need, the services from the hospitals, they can't provide it because there's not enough money to cover my health insurance. It's just money that we're throwing away and giving to shareholders and investors that don't really benefit society at all. So that's one option is you fund, the government, our government program for insurance. But I don't like trusting the government with that kind of power either. I don't want to trust the government with my health either. Government should at least regulate the insurance, the health insurance. But I trust more the doctors and the hospitals and the hospital staff and the nurses than anybody else with my health. So why don't we fund them directly? And there's going to be enough money for everybody and all the programs that we wish we had, like hospice care and home care and extended, you know, home care that a lot of people don't have nowadays. So we're going to have more money for research and development. We're going to have money for a lot of things. But if we do a transition like that, it needs to be smart in a smart way and in a way that is planned so that what's going to happen to all these employees of a health insurance company, where they're going to go? Well, some of that money that we put in the system is going to help them out to restructure themselves. Hospitals are going to need more workers to process, claims and many other things. So we should have a period like a grace period where we support these individuals that are going to be without a job, so they can find their way through the system and decide what they're going to do with their lives. They want to go back into the health into the health industry, or they might want to do something else. There's going to be plenty of money because you're going to be taking away the middleman that has no real value to society. I just don't see it. And as frustration builds up in the community, what we had with this kid shot a CEO, a health insurance CEO in the back. I mean, is that how we're going to deal with the problems that we have in America with violence? Yeah, that's not what we're all about. You're just destroying a family, and another CEO is going to come behind them with the same agenda. So
Yes.
if we need to transform the society, you need to look deep into what it is that we really want and how we're going to do it and do a plan, because I see a lot of criticism and a lot of anger and hatred towards government, politicians and the wealthy. I'm trying to help people realize that we do have a chance. And if we unite, we're going to be able to make America just not better, just, new and improved. And it's going to baffle the imagination how much funds are going to be available to support the programs that we really need right now, because we need to heal our nation. We need, education should be free in America. If your son qualifies to go to Harvard or MIT, they shouldn't have to worry whether how they're going to pay through college, how they're going to live.
You
It should
used
be it should be paid for from the beginning.
well,
Let me finish it. The most valuable resource that we have is our kids and in the education system. So let's protect that and let's give them the chance where they can achieve greatness.
yeah. Oh, yeah, no doubt. So two parts. The first on the healthcare, I've advocated more of a German style system here. I don't know if it's because it's biased because my family's background is from Germany.
I'm not familiar with the German system.
And this is more just like simplifying it than anything, but they have a private public system. They have a mix of both. But where it's really good is it's incentivized for the private companies to offer insurance. But there's no deductibles and there's no copays. And you pay a similar amount, but obviously you have a little bit more options with a private system. But they also have a public system for, I think it's like 40% private, 60% public, I think is like the current rate in that ballpark. But like if you're a private hospital, you still have to reserve X amount of stuff in that hospital for public patients. And if there's any kind of emergency, anything that someone needs, at no point whatsoever can you turn them away. And so what Germany also does on top of that is Germany's education is, and this is why I was piggybacking on that, for the most part, their college is free. But what they do is like if you, for instance, want to just go for like liberal arts, something that's just so generic, you have to pay a portion of it. Small portion, but you have to pay a portion of it. But if you go for something that's in demand, like engineers, computers, doctors, they cover the whole cost. And so over there, if you want to see your family doctor, you can generally see your family doctor 2 days faster than you can in America. Now, the flip side to it is let's say you need, I don't know, knee surgery, but it's not like an emergency, right? You're walking around just fine. You need like a little bit of a cleanup. There's no big issues. Okay, well, you get put to the back of the list. The guy who needs a knee replacement because he can't walk down the street anymore gets put to the first, which I think is a fair trade off.
Right.
But here's even the bigger kicker is the average family doctor over in Germany only makes $80,000 to $100,000 a year. Why? Because he doesn't need to charge that much money to pay for his college. Because it costs you $500,000 to $1,000,000 to become a doctor. And then on top of it, so I learned this part from from my family doctor, is that So I don't know if you've ever gotten like one of your health insurance, like statement of benefits, and it'll say your doctor charged $200, but then they give a discount plus
Right,
your,
to
your
the
copay.
insurance company. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the insurance company only pays like 100. Well, the reason being is every year or every other year the insurance company will up what they're going to pay the doctors per visit. Well, legally, the insurance companies are not required to tell the doctors when they up the rate that they're going to give them. So the doctors will charge this exorbitant rate in order to make sure that when the threshold goes up, that they get their money. And that's why if you go to the doctor with cash, they charge you significantly less. And I'm like, that is the most backwards way of doing business ever. And then that feeds into Germany spends for what we spend $5,000, I think it was, in administrative costs for healthcare. They spend 600. So 30%, 30 to 35% of our healthcare is in administrative costs. We could eliminate 30% right off the top by making the administration more streamlined and make it more affordable for the average
That's
Joe.
that's that's a that's a that's a that's a major difference. We need to look at it in a different way because right now I see that Trump is talking about, they subsidize these insurance companies, and he's talking about sending these subsidies directly to the individuals as opposed to the insurance company. Their insurance is going to be way higher, but the government is going to subsidize most of it, the individual, which I don't really agree with that because a lot of people are going to take that money and spend it on something else. I think, we can talk about it as a society, but I don't see the need for health insurance companies to be middleman in America. If we can fund these hospitals directly and, they're going to have so many funds for everything that, research and development and everything else, which is going to make a huge difference and lower our costs tremendously.
So I don't know about down there in Florida, but you're talking about hospitals. So a lot of states, and I know they still do it, not we, but they still do it here in Michigan, is they limit the amount of hospitals that can be in certain areas. They limit the amount of hospital beds. So you have to show proof of need if you want to open up one, right? So there's no real competition. The government decides how much competition there can be. So in America, how we've always lowered cost is the people who got money flood the market. I can do it better and cheaper than you, and then the price comes down. My doctor had told me about this. A healthcare system here wanted to open up a cancer ward, which they ended up doing at another hospital. But let's say they have 500 beds in their system, but they want to open up a cancer ward that has 100 beds. Well, now they have to eliminate 100 beds from other hospitals in their system in
Oh,
order to
okay.
accommodate that. So that's not real competition. That's stifling it. There's what motivation do they have to become more efficient? What motivation do they have to give you better care when they know that, okay, I'm going to get some rich person that's going to donate the money to open up this wing? Because, you always see these hospital wings and they'll be like, thank for this generous contribution from all these rich people, which is fine. I'm glad that they're doing it. They should. But if you're doing that, if they're paying for all of this building, why do you need to charge so much?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I see, a lot of, and to apply that scenario of the donations from of wealthy individuals to social programs. Like I passed by the other day, building. It's for Camilo's house here. They got a brand new build. They help the homeless. Brand new building, beautiful. I mean, these CEOs are living it up. And I'm like, what are they doing? I mean, they should be working out of their basements and helping, and all the money going to the people that need it. The other one I saw was what is this program where it helps kids, that have terminal illnesses to achieve their dreams. They want to be a police officer.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name, but I know what you're talking about.
The building I saw here is amazing, and I'm like, what? All this money being donated to you so you can have this luxurious building and luxury furniture. We're giving you the money so you can do what you're supposed to do. And the whole system is structured in such a way that it's like that, where if you're going to donate, the IRS has a certain companies that you can donate to that are approved by the IRS, so you can get the discount. And there's an amount of money that you can donate as a corporation, to those particular companies. Otherwise, you're not going to get the tax discount. So we need to change that. We need to restructure the whole system where it helps these companies say, well, they can donate more to directly to individuals, let's say, that need the help. And we need to look at the whole system, government, economy, social, and we need to solve the big problems that we have as a society. The environmental pollution problem is one of them. I can't believe we're still using fossil fuels. I mean, we're in the 21st century. We're still dependent on oil. We're still, we're still, I don't want to use the term, but we're still sucking on mama's titties.
Yeah.
We're still sucking on that titty, man. It's time for us to grow up and realize, hey, we got to fend for ourselves. Let's put some money into programs that create these alternate fuel sources so we can have a cleaner environment and we can walk around our streets without suffocating from all this pollution from burning fossil fuels and gasoline all over the place.
Yeah, no,
I look at
that's for
some of
sure
the
right.
statistics the other day, and for each mile driven, it's about 2 cups of carbon dioxide that we're breathing in. It's in the atmosphere. And I see it because I live in a city. And, if you go to any of these apartments that are that have balconies that are close to like an expressway or anything like that, there's a black dust all over the windows, all over the balcony. And there's carbon dioxide that just builds up into it. And we're breathing that stuff. And you go outside and take a jog thinking you're being healthy, but you're swallowing all this mud into your body. And I think I attribute like 7,000 deaths to yearly to respiratory issues. Well, we got to look beyond, and we have the ability, we have the technology available to change these things. Vehicles, like electric vehicles are great, and they have really not taken off as much as they should because I've talked to a few people and they say, well, it's so inconvenient for me to charge it. I live in the city. I don't have a house where I can charge it, plug in, and I have to go and spend, an hour charging the car. Well, how about, and they probably already have it like a self-charging electric vehicle where you don't have to charge a vehicle. It charges itself. And I'm sure Elon Musk has the capability of either has a patent already or can develop it or make that where it's like an alternator on a regular
Yeah.
car where it charges your battery. Well, it can, if we do that, people are going to
Yeah,
look
I
into
believe
more into
I
that.
believe Teslas already have, what they call regenerative braking.
Yeah, it's a
So when
little
they
bit.
slow down, it helps generate it.
Yeah, but if you're generating that charging continuously,
Yeah.
it's going to extend the range of the vehicle
Well, the
tremendously.
electric cars work great down in your warm environments down there
Right,
and in inner cities, or well, not inner cities, but smaller communities.
right.
But like up here in Michigan when it gets super cold.
But yeah, that's
So yeah, it goes way down. So all of a sudden your daily commute becomes an issue.
right, right.
So that's where they what they've done here or what they're trying to do here is I believe it's Ford has opened up a couple more hydrogen fueling stations. So I think, even though it's not right now, and I know Germany and Australia, Mercedes Benz is testing like pickup
Yeah,
trucks.
Toyota has a hydrogen. They made a hydrogen engine
Yeah,
that uses just water. But hydrogen is the future. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe.
it's easier to.
74% of the universe is made out of hydrogen.
Well, the how we get it right now is we get it out of natural gas. We extract it from it. And
Okay.
but the thing is I'm like, okay, if we're talking about energy jobs in America, right here, you can extract the natural gas. We have the biggest reserve, or one of like I think we're top two, or we're the biggest reserves in the world. How are we not taking advantage of this? It would employ Americans. It would put America back on wheels. There'd be so many American jobs. They would literally have to beg
Yeah.
people to come here to do them.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw many years ago, I saw a video, I think it was back in the 90s, about a scientist. He used to work for NASA, but he was really into hydrogen fuel cells, like these little fuel cells that you put in a regular combustion engine, and it increases the mileage on the car and it makes the fuel burn cleaner and everything else. Well, apparently he devised a hydrogen fuel cell that would make the car run on demand with hydrogen, meaning that you didn't have to store hydrogen anywhere. It created the vapor of hydrogen, it put it into the car, but there was so much hydrogen coming out of that fuel cell that it would power the car with nothing else. And this was a long time ago. And he was talking in a convention, hydrogen convention, and he said the FBI came, they took photos of everything, they put him in jail for 5 years, debriefed him, and they told him this technology will never reach the public because it is a national security issue. That's what he said. And yeah, it's a long time ago. And I have not been able for my life to find that video again. I saw it, and then like 2, 3 months later, it was gone. I couldn't find it. And he said he kept everything in his, but he didn't write down the formulas. And even he said Toyota had offered him 40 or $50 million, and he said no. But, my theory is America has always depended a lot on these, inventors and creators and people, coming up with new products and new ideas and things like that, and we should support these individuals because there's a lot of potential there. There's a little kid nowadays making, like, a little incinerator. He's very famous with kids nowadays. It's called Jalen Brown, I believe.
Yeah.
And he's making this incinerator where he takes plastic and he burns it up in like a little microwave, and then out comes gasoline, and what's left over is just carbon. So, that it's certain inventions and certain things that we should be putting more money into it to discover new things and new ideas. His little idea there reminded me of some of the futuristic movies that you might see where instead of throwing garbage down the chute, you just put it into this machine and vaporizes it. There's a lot of stuff out there that can help humanity evolve and mature, but our greed, our way of thinking is keeping us from actually achieving these goals.
Yes.
And alternate fuel sources are great. What are you going to do about these big oil tycoon companies? What are you going to do with the Saudis that the whole fortune is based on oil? And how are we going to deal with this? Because they're definitely going to fight anything alternative. And that's why it hasn't really taken off because there's so much money in oil. Now, to tell you the truth, I don't care if the government says, well, I'm going to tax you. We spend usually around $3,000 a month in fuel. If you can give me a clean fuel source and you tax me those $3,000 a month, I don't care. Do it. So that would help you. Those $3,000 a month per individual is going to help, offset the change. So the people you're going to lose. We did the calculation the other day with my son. Around 30 million jobs from the oil industry. That's not a lot of. That's not a lot of money. If you take, you can collect $30 million and give these individuals $1 million each, or you can subsidize throughout their time for them to find something else to do. We're going to offset that problem of unemployment. I don't care. Let me tell you, I don't care if you give the money away to these greedy oil companies and here have our money, but we want the fuel. We want the clean fuel source. I don't care if I got to pay more. I'm still going to be paying the same amount of money that I'm paying now. So that's how we change the course of the future. We can't be naive and think that, oh, we're going to introduce a alternate fuel source and it's never going to take off because there's too much interest on the other side. So you got to feed that interest. You got to say, here, take your money, choke on it if you want to, choke on your money. but we want the clean fuel source to reach our society. And then we can figure out, later on down the road, 5, 6, 10 years later, what else we can do. But it's the only way it's going to happen. If we keep thinking that doing a little bit here, a little bit there, it's just not going to do it. We need to go full in, into this.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong at all. I mean, you're 1,000% spot on in that. I mean, it's just it goes back to people like wanting to, and the corporations have to want to do the right thing. I don't know why I'm trying to blank on the name of the lawsuit right now. It was from the early 1900s with the Dodge brothers that made it so that corporations were responsible to their shareholders before their customers and their workers. I can't think of the name of it, but the Dodge brothers were the ones who were involved in it because they were more focused on their workers and one of their shareholders sued, I believe. It's something along those lines. I can't remember the exact, ballpark, but it was somewhere wrong along those lines.
Yeah, if the companies become more socially aware or conscious, we're all going to benefit from it.
Oh yeah.
They're going to benefit more. We're going to benefit more. We're going to have a healthier, cleaner environment. People are going to be happier, because we actually see some improvements in our country because we're frustrated, man. A lot of people are so frustrated and they don't see us evolving and getting better. And it's just frustrating to put in so much effort and work hard without seeing the results. When we went through the industrial revolution, man, people used to work hard, but they used to be able to see the results. Now it's just like more fun and games, and it's not cutting it. We need more meaningful achievements in our lives than just making money and realizing that we want to help the whole nation become better and more prosperous and shorten that wealth gap a little bit. Because if we keep going the way we're going, it's going to keep growing and growing and growing. There's going to be more and more poor people in the United States where
Well, our government needs to go back to incentivizing them to invest in the United States rather than
yes.
incentivizing them to go outside the United States.
Well, I have a theory on that because my view is it's a world view where it's not just prosperity and love and wisdom into the United States, but in the world as well as a species, where we can evolve as a species. And America has a big role to play in that. And I think that some of these countries that are underdeveloped need to be developed. Some of these countries in Africa and South America need our help so they can go through an industrial revolution, just like China did not too long ago, and they can become prosperous.
Oh
And
yeah.
we're going to eliminate a lot of the immigration problems because these people don't want to be here for sure. They are here because they have more opportunities, because they have a chance to better themselves. If they had that in their country, they wouldn't be here. So once you help these nations develop themselves, and you do it through manufacturing. There's no other way. You do it through manufacturing, and then they'll get to a point where they're going to be consumer economy. So you're going to be selling them their own products they're making, and you're going to be making profits off of them. And and that's how you create a more prosperous human race. And let me tell you, China is looking at the world like this because they're looking to do the Silk Road, which a lot of countries have signed up for it already, about 150 countries where they want to unite Middle East, Middle East and Europe with Asia and Africa with these ports. They're going to make some ports and they're going to make roads, and that's their philosophy. They want to bring prosperity to these nations and these poor countries so they can sell them more Chinese products.
Oh yeah.
And that's a plan. And I mean, you can go even deeper. That's how they take over the world because those countries are going to be their allies and they're going to be also economically compromised with China. And they're going to gain more and more and more support over the world. And that's a Chinese way. They plan to win this war without firing a shot, just like their book, says, The Art of War. Winning a war without shooting one single bullet, and you take over the world economically.
Yes.
and then you debilitate the other country. Your oppressor, you try to debilitate him, which we are, with a society is deteriorating, and we need to do something about it, and realize that we also need to spread our prosperity throughout the world. And I think Trump is focusing a little bit more in this part of the hemisphere, which is great because we have not done that in a long time. We've always been fighting that war over there in the Middle East. He's looking more towards helping, South America, Central America, and these places. I think it's going to be a good thing to do because when you bring manufacturing back to the United States with all the inflation that we already have and the taxes that are imposed, and now you're going to labor is very expensive here. So manufacturing is it's pretty much based on labor cost. So you got to pay an employee here, $30 an hour. Nobody's going to work for less than 20, $30 an hour here. How much more price is going to go up? Manufacture is based on cheap labor. And a lot of those countries that are underdeveloped have cheap labor, and they'll be happy to work for 3, 4, $5 an hour because they don't make that much in a week nowadays. So they'll be happy. So that's how we spread the prosperity around the world. And once the whole plan works out, humanity will be prosperous all over, and we won't have a problem with immigrations and so many wars and everything else. Because the countries that want to prosper, they will have the opportunity to do it. And all of this is part, like I said, of a divine plan, which started with the United States of America and unifying all the races into this one country and the cultures that we live with, everything, making humanity realize that we can all live together under one roof. And that's what America represents. And that's why it's so important that we overcome this hurdle that we're facing nowadays, which we will. But we got to have faith and we got to be able to take a leap of faith because that's what it takes right now. And
Oh yeah.
a lot of these changes, a lot of these programs are going to be difficult, and they're going to be sacrifices that we need to make. But in the long run, we're going to create a much better society, world, and country. It's what we were born to do
Yeah, no, it's
as a
definitely,
nation.
and it's and as much as a lot of people don't want to realize it, our founding fathers had also said here that each generation should revisit things and make changes as needed. They
Yeah,
wanted to put that in the Constitution, but they didn't have enough support. But there was a good chunk of them that felt the country's going to change so much that it constantly needs to be I don't think we'll
it's
ever.
there. It's there in the Constitution where it says, the people have the responsibility to either overthrow the government if they have to, or restructure it. And
They well,
that's our responsibility.
well, at one point they were trying to put in when they were talking about when they were negotiating or debating the Constitution is that they wanted it to be a constitutional convention to be mandatory every 40 or 50 years, something like
It
that.
should be. It should be every 20 years or something like that. Yes, it should be. Where and the people need to have, democracy itself. We're like a democratic republic, right?
Uh-huh.
I think democracy wants to evolve because we're using, like we talked about before, that we're using the economic system of the 1900s. We're using the political system of the 1700s when this nation was formed. And it seems to me like democracy is screaming out that it wants to evolve to become more democratic, where the people have a say, where the people, you know, can put in their opinion when there's a war. If you're gonna commit me to a 20-year war where my kids are gonna go and die for this country, I wanna have a say. I don't want you to go just because you're fighting for some idealistic goal that you think it's gonna help our country or help yourselves. We want to know why. We want to know everything, and we need you to listen to our voice through referendums. We need more referendums about meaningful and important issues of the day. We can't just take your word for it anymore because this nation was formed, like a lot of people say, we were farmers with pitchforks. We're a very well educated society nowadays. We're very smart individuals.
Yes, we are.
Doctors and lawyers and accountants and business people, and social workers and influencers like yourself. We dig deep into these subjects and we want to have a say.
Yeah.
And you need to listen to us. And if do a referendum before you go to war, do a referendum before you change any laws that are going to affect, our pocketbook deeply or uh, influence the way that we're going to live the rest of our lives. And we need to do it on a local level and on a federal level. You know? So that's how the country evolves from this democratic republic into a full democracy.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're 1,000% right. I mean, I think we covered a lot of good ground today, Alan.
Yeah, we could
You
go
know,
on and on. I'm telling
you
you,
know,
we could go
I
on
I want to have
hours.
you back on the show, especially in relation to your book and the election that's coming up. Your your book is even more relevant now, probably than it probably would
Yeah,
have ever been even 10 years ago.
yeah, the book is like a spiritual evolution of humanity, how we got to where we are today, and some of the messages that we've been getting through the years. Like we got a message on 9/11, which we haven't addressed. We got a message after World War II, where we neglected. We get messages all the time on guiding us towards a certain future, and our forefathers saw that. And when you look at some of the numerology they put onto the symbols of the United States and some of the eagle has a meaning, the laurel, the pyramid, and everything else, they have meaning, which they understood because they translated these symbols because they understood the message that was being delivered to them. So we need to understand that first. And the book is also a good way for people to, raise their level of consciousness and understand themselves better and the position that the role they're playing in society today, and to do away with a lot of the confusion and negativity that's going on in the world and understand what's happening so that you could be at more peace with yourself to understand, like, why is there so much violence? Why there's so much crime and drugs in the world. All of these things have a mission and a meaning. Sometimes you need necessary evils to wake up a humanity and make them realize that you need to do something. You can't just keep going the same way that we've been going. So the book, I think it's a way for it was a way for me to understand myself and my place in society better. But I think it's going to help a lot of people at ease or terms with themselves and their society. And instead of criticizing so much this society and the government and the wealthy and the corporations, to see how we can creatively influence those institutions to better our nation and better our country, because bickering and fighting amongst each other is not going to solve anything. We need to unite, like you said, we need to unite, walk the middle ground, and that'll take us into the future.
Yeah, we got to realize we can't always get everything we want. We got to be willing to give certain things up.
Yeah, and I would appreciate, for your listeners, whoever they can, to support me, because this is what I plan to do for the rest of my life. And the only way that I'm gonna make it is if you support me by buying the book. It's on Amazon. It's called The Modern Citizen, and you can also it's available in Spanish and English. And you can also send me an email if you like, the Paraclete9@gmail.com. I appreciate your support if you can help me out, and I'll be able to do this just 24 hours a day if I have to.
Yeah, that's something that I'm working on. My goal is for this to become my full-time job at some point. I've pumped out, I think I'm at 165 episodes total, give or take, and I've done that since May. I mean, I'm like boom, 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 boom. And I work a full-time job. I got 2 kids, wife, all that good schnaz.
I know it's difficult. It's difficult, and if we could do this full time, I think if we find the support, I think we'll be able to influence the society much better, and
We
and you'll have a lot more influential guests.
how far is Orlando from Miami?
It's about 4 hours.
Maybe I'll shoot you. There's a good chance, not 1,000% chance, there's a good chance I'll be in Orlando next month.
Okay.
Buzzsprout, who hosts my podcast, publishes it to everywhere.
Right.
They actually sponsored my tickets and everything. Well, like all this, the expenses at the event. It's called Podfest 2026. It's like the biggest, convention in the world for podcasting. Yeah, I'm what they call a nano podcast because even though I'm growing like crazy, I'm still small compared to Joe Rogan. You
Yeah.
know,
But
I've crossed over.
I did a little research. You're a very smart guy. You have a lot of background in education and politics and
Well, yeah,
social sciences, and
I started
pretty
at
amazing.
13 years old. I started as I won't say started, but my dad gave me a book called Economics by a guy named Thomas Sowell. And my dad was a staunch Democrat. So why my dad would give me a book like that, I don't know. But my dad said, you need to know about these things. My dad said, because they're going to tell you, you need to believe whatever they put in front of your face. And he goes, and so I grew up a libertarian. I grew up anti government. We should all, and then, so my true heart deep down is I would love to just us all, but I do the right thing. But I also know that it's not realistic to expect every person to do the right thing just because. It's unrealistic. It's just not human nature. I get it. So then I kind of started to shift away towards that and I became more of a centerist uh, and then I kept researching things and researching things. And then I met a guy who used to be the GOP chair of Michigan here. His name was Tony, and he educated me on a lot of things. And, for anybody listening out there, how I learned a lot of these things is I'm a very curious person. I'm persistent and I'll ask questions till that person just tells me what I need to know to shut me up.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's how I moved up in the corporate world. My boss would be doing something and I'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing? How do I learn that?" I'd be like, "I know I'm off the clock and I'm supposed to, but I don't. Yeah, I'm not even worried about making money. I just want to know how you're doing it. I want to learn."
yeah.
And I pushed and I pushed.
That curiosity is a divine human, uh, a thing that we have, which draws us to, to experience, everything in life. I love it. I go deeper into spiritual and psychological issues, and I would spend days and days and days just analyzing myself and the world and everything. And
Yeah, the
I've
curiosity is our best asset.
yeah, yeah, and that's what brought Christopher to Columbus to come here, and the Vikings to go around the world, and everything else. And what is going to take us now, once we resolve all these issues that we are dealing with, our next adventure is going to be outer space, and that's going to be wonderful. That's going to be amazing. That because
Oh
we're
yeah,
conquerors, we want to conquer the world. We want to conquer the universe, and the next thing we're going to conquer is the universe. We haven't
I'm
even
a
been.
die.
Humanity is still a baby. We haven't even
Oh yeah,
broken through the placenta here. We're still in this bubble Earth, and we're sticking our heads out, and looking around the universe. We haven't been born into the universe yet. But once we fix the problems that we have here, we're gonna be able to, and with AI, it's gonna make things a lot faster and easier. We're gonna be able to create Earth-like planets somewhere else, an atmosphere in another planet, even the moon, and be able to transfer our societies across the galaxies. That's the future, but we need
my
to take care of the problems we got now.
I use AI all the time, and I'm very open about that. I did a show back when an episode. My show was pretty new, and then we'll finish here. It was with the guy who made he was one of the Snapchat algorithm programmers, and he left there and he made a company called datingai.io. I think it is. I believe that's the name of it. And so I asked him. I said, "What about the Skynet concern?" He was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I call it the Skynet problem because." What if this stuff goes haywire? How do we turn it off? And he was like, "Oh, we can't." And I was like, we need to figure out a way because just like anything else, right? Like COVID, a computer virus,
Yeah.
something could go haywire.
Yeah, yeah. But if we're responsible with AI, and we use it for the right things, I think it's going to be wonderful. It's going to help us
Oh, yeah. Well, no,
create
most
some much a
definitely.
better future. And to look at it, I mean, when I first heard about this, and I said, well, wow, humanity, we are actually creating another life form.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, we are getting so close to God. It baffles the imagination. We are actually creating another life form. It might be a synthetic life form, but it's another life form that we are creating. So we're, getting closer and closer towards becoming these great creators in the universe. And that's a big responsibility. And we need to watch out for the pitfalls that come with that. So it's a huge responsibility. I think we are able to tackle it, but we need to get beyond our egoistic, savage, prehistoric natures, about this money and power thing and be able to build, something, the future that we have envisioned, really, because it's not even a divine plan. It's the future that we've always wanted, a world without boundaries and clean environment and prosperity around the world where there's no poverty, there's hardly any wars because everybody has plenty of everything. A comprehensive and united, psychology or religion where everything is comes together and we all work together. We've always wanted that. And we can create it nowadays because we live in a world of abundance. And the whole process of human evolution has been bringing us to this particular point in time in which you and I live. And
Yes.
we have a chance now to actually make the dream of all of our ancestors come true.
Yes.
And I think we can do it and it's gonna be amazing. But we need to come together and start bickering between each other about issues that really don't come to the table. They're not as important as we think they are.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, Alan, I really
Okay.
appreciate you coming on today. Everybody, the link to his book will be in the comments. Please check it out because we need more civil discussion like this. We need
Yeah.
more opposing ideas. We need everybody to come together. We need to be able to talk these things without wanting to knock each other's heads off, per se, if you want to call it that. So,
Yeah.
Al, I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on, and I hope everybody has a good day. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. And give me a holler when you come down to Orlando.
All right, we'll do.
I might make a trip